आपका देशभक्ति का मामला ये है, मर के मैं तिरंगे में वापस आ जाऊं. That's the only Deshbhakti. Pahalgam was a messaging by proxy terrorist of a proxy army, of a proxy state. One was to tell the Kashmiris that this whole peace which is happening in your region is not acceptable to us. So Operation Sindoor was a limited, restricted, controlled, escalatory operation which was proportional. This is a war of missiles, drones, RPVs, unarmed systems, unmanned systems. Beauty of BrahMos is that it can't be intercepted. It was message to Pakistan, a message to the world that you guys have not been listening to us. We are pained. We will take our own decisions and strike where we will.
Did the leaks happen at Kirana Hills?
That may not be leaks would have happened that point of time. Possibly it has hit an entrance of stockpile, and that stockpile was not owned technically by the Pakistanis. You need to protect your youth from the content which is flowing in the social media. The day Indian establishment, our country's establishment, becomes absolutely clear, overt and covert. When you talk, ऐसा नहीं होता है कमरे के अंदर नहीं यार तुम वहाँ रह रहे हो तो तुमको थोड़ा सा देश के खिलाफ बोलना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा.
जिस दिन आप ये बंद कर देंगे उस दिन कश्मीरी आपके हो जाएंगे.
Namaste. My name is Neena Rai, and I'm the author of the books Amazing Ayodhya and Adbhut Ayodhya. And on the power table today, we have with us Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, who is a decorated army officer. And today he's going to answer some of our tough questions on the Pahalgam attack. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, sir. Sir, I want to start by discussing Operation Sindoor and Pahalgam attack. I want to know what happened and how did we counter that?
Okay, so I'll answer this question about in three parts.
Yeah.
The first one is about what happened in Pahalgam. So Pahalgam was a sort of a messaging by a proxy terrorist of a proxy army, of a proxy state, right? And it all leads to eventually some other powers which are possibly controlling this state, right? And it was required for two purposes. One was to tell the Kashmiris that this whole peace which is happening in your region is not acceptable to us, right? And we were pretty happy when the violence was there. This peace is unacceptable. This economic development is not what we're looking for. And for that, by the way, when they have carried out identification in terms of you are a Hindu, and thereafter having taken the pants down and trying to check and asking for them to speak Kalma and stuff like that, it is also a very great indication in terms of indirect manner that we don't welcome, we don't care about you are a Muslim or a Hindu actually, because eventually the tourism, when it dries down, the hit goes to Kashmiri Muslims because Kashmiri Pandits have been virtually thrown out from that place, right? The second, I think, intention was also to strive and drive into a communalist violence in the country, right? Which was one of the more important agenda. When you carry out this act by identifying through religion, thereafter the emotional outburst and rest of the country would have been pointed. While these were related to incident per se, the third one was for this chap called Asim Munir, who's a radical himself, actually. He's
Jihadi general, he's called.
Yeah, jihadi. When you say jihadi in terms of Islam, you are actually giving him a certain degree of respectability. So I'll call him Islamist, which is even the people who follow Islam don't want to call themselves. So I think he's a radical guy who has got a terrorist mindset. He was grown, nurtured in the time of Ziaul Haq, when the entire country actually transitioned to a different mindset, and so was the Pakistan Army. So he has been nurtured through that organization, which is actually taking his country to a steep slope towards destruction, self-destruction. Look at what has happened in Syria and other places, if you have to see what is the future of this country. His survival was at stake because Pakistan Army, which owns the state, had started actually having a very bad name, and respectability was totally getting lost.
Absolutely.
So it was quite overtly when the Pakistanis were coming out on the street and making statements like "Dahshatgardi ke piche kya hai? Vardi," right? And with Imran Khan, the most popular leader, who unfortunately happened to be Pathan and not a Punjabi. And he also, while he was brought in the power by the army first time, but thereafter you see he's that random guy who started trying to show power, and thereafter they had to take him out of the circulation and put him behind bars. So there were so many other things besides economic challenges which was in Pakistan, and therefore there was I always thought, and this is what I said in a number of interviews, this was also a bait for India to do something drastic. Because every time Bharat does something against Pakistan, its population, howsoever poorly led, fed, right, or staying, binds together in the name of not state per se, in the name of Islam.
Not only
So when you look at the whole thing, it was being baited. When baiting is being done, the geopolitical environment, when you look, with this whole tariff thing, with China coming down in terms of economic issues, it was getting isolated. There was a tariff thing which was being put on this country. They were losing jobs. Factories were shifting out. Who would have benefited? So when you look at, there are a number of people who are likely to have benefited on this. So this is about why Pahalgam happened, right? Now coming to Operation Sindoor. So Operation Sindoor was a limited, restricted, controlled escalatory operation which was proportional, right? It was message to Pakistan, it was a message to the world. It was also message to our country, men who wanted some sort of a physical revenge for the death which took place in Pahalgam. And therefore, I think the Prime Minister, in his pragmatism, gave instructions only to destroy. He said, "Mitti mein mila denge," that kind of words to that effect in Bihar when he made his statement. The perpetrators of the terrorist attack and the people who were behind, right, will be destroyed. And that is how Op Sindoor was conducted. The naming per se was also very symbolic, right? And we understand because they said Hindus, there are a number of widows, and this is very symbolic that in our, they're saying a widow stops wearing Sindoor. And if you take out Sindoor, you'll have blood to play. And both colors are similar, right? So I think that is one very important symbolism. And instructions were given, I think, to the armed forces to do whatever it was required to do to reach out, and very smartly they ensured that escalatory ladder was under their control, and they carried out the strike onto the terrorists, not only the military camps or the training areas, but also onto the headquarters, which were hidden in Punjab, right, for a long time. And they always thought that as we are in proximity within Pak Punjab, nothing else will to happen. And therefore, when you look at the global headquarters were targeted of the terrorist camp, the message to the world was that you guys have not been listening to us. We are pained, right? And therefore, oh, by the way, you can carry out the strikes. We are no more the so much, power which will be only looking at you. We will take our own decisions and strike where we will. So I always want, will strike at will is something which is a hashtag which should actually run in the country. And that should become our orientation. We are no more country which is timid, which looks inwards only, and is unwilling to strike at our enemies wherever they are.
Is willing to strike at.
Yeah, we are no more that country.
Okay.
And the transition has taken place. I think is symbolism was there when the Uri surgical strike happened, then Balakot happened, and now with this strike, I think all doors are open. The barrels have been uncovered.
Do you think that this kind of a standoff war, is this really the new normal?
Yeah, so I think in this whole war, actually, what has been missed out is that this war was not a war of Air Force, Army, or Navy, right? This is a war of missiles,
Uh-huh.
drones,
Mm-hmm.
RPVs,
Mm-hmm.
unarmed systems, unmanned systems,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere, while this is required,
Mm.
for whetting the appetite of common man,
Mm.
but this is a thing in which the man behind the machine
Mm.
has become much, much more important.
Mm.
And these are lessons, I guess,
Mm.
our political dispensation,
Mm.
our senior leadership post military,
Mm.
uh, we all have been part of it in
Mm-hmm.
some form or other.
Mm.
The use of technology has become very important.
Mm-hmm.
And this has come out very clearly in Russian-Ukraine war, even Israel-Hamas war,
Mm-hmm.
in which strikes from Iran
Mm.
or by Houthis have actually crippled movement at high seas,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And you actually don't have to deploy people, but you can carry out symbolic
Mm.
and also, if required,
Mm.
not only symbolic, but a physical strike. So I think this is going to be a new norm, and it's a smart way to do,
Mm.
right?
Is it a smart way to do, or is it a cowardly way to fight a war? And I'm talking about the Houthis and others, because one of the things is that when we talk of bravery, generally courage and bravery is supposed to be hand to hand combat, which is what
Yes.
Indian army is very, very well trained in. But knowing our enemy, knowing the dirty games of our enemy, and we know that they are the ones who keep sending their proxies, and now the war has changed to how from sitting back we can attack the targets. This is a very new and a very different war, which in the olden times this would be unacceptable.
Correct. So, we have to graduate. And one thing I say always, the only thing which is constant is change. Change is
Yes.
only constant,
Yes.
right? So, when I was a corps commander,
Yes.
and prior to that, I was in certain appointments
Mm.
in which we used to deal with such subjects.
Mm.
War fighting, more so
Mm.
as a commandant of Army War College,
Mm.
I taught only this,
Mm.
that I must make the enemy die for his own country.
You must make the enemy die for his own
Own
country.
country,
But here,
right?
the
So,
Pakistanis are dying for their own stupidities.
yeah, so that's all right. So, we must make him die for their own stupidity.
Yeah,
So, rather than trying to put, like, bravado is good,
yeah,
but a smart fighting way is much more better too, right?
okay,
And if the world is evolving to technology,
yeah,
and somebody sitting in distant Florida
yeah,
can launch uh, uh, an unmanned system
hmm,
to carry out a strike and kill
hmm,
the top leadership where it is required to be killed,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
Halfway through the continent, through the world.
hmm,
That is much more smarter rather than putting people into harm's way,
hmm, hmm,
right? And the second is that while, and it's a truth that today our country or even the world
hmm,
is not wanting to have body bags,
hmm,
right? So 30 years back, 40 years back, even in Kargil,
huh,
it was still acceptable.
huh,
But as people are getting modern,
yeah,
softer,
huh,
they are getting into digital space, into social media domain,
huh,
the very idea of body bags
hmm,
is limited to fighting a conflict on the online gaming systems,
hmm, hmm,
right?
hmm,
It
hmm,
may look very exciting,
hmm,
but the same child who's youth
hmm,
who's trying to kill
hmm,
hundreds of people and blow things here like Transformers does,
hmm,
the moment he will see blood coming out from anywhere,
huh,
he or she will not know how to handle,
yeah,
right? So these are realities.
hmm,
If this is reality, it's better to fight,
hmm,
prepare yourself. While training of Indian Army, which is battle hardened over a
hmm,
period of time, we got
hmm,
extremely great experience.
hmm,
It is in our DNA and gene pool,
hmm,
right? Indian armed forces have fought wars all over the world,
hmm,
right?
hmm,
Maybe under different flags
hmm, hmm, hmm,
of, let's say, by the flag of British or
hmm,
Indian National Army and
hmm,
stuff like that. But
hmm.
we have been a war-faring nation.
Correct.
But for about 70 to 80 years, we've been told that you are not. You are cowardly. You don't know how to fight. You are not an expeditionary force.
And this is one of the things that I heard from somebody, and they said that the Pakistani army is the smartest army in the world because they have even outsourced their fighting to jihadis.
Yeah, if they were so smart,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be where they are,
Mm-hmm.
right? So who are the jihadis? Those jihadis are not coming from Africa anymore.
Correct.
So Africans have got their own thing to fight.
Yeah. And they're not
They are
even
not
coming
from Afghanistan.
Yes.
They are not coming from Iraq, Iran, or
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
They are their own youth.
Yeah.
Right? Do we do the same thing to our Pradhan Mantri ji is going around telling our youth to study, लड़की पढ़ाओ लड़की बचाओ,
बेटी बचाओ बेटी
बेटी हाँ बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ, वो वहाँ पर फॉलो कर रहे हैं. They are following a system that go to madrasas, get trained, और क्या है धर्म के नाम पे, इस्लाम के नाम पर, and they have got there are so many codes. Most of the codes are not even understood by the common person, right? Those hajis and those hafiz, they will keep on throwing those codes which the common person doesn't even know how to speak
but
or
they
understand.
know.
And they are willing to die to live in the next world, looking at 72 wars, right?
Yeah.
So look at the paradigm. Here we are saying, पढ़ो, अच्छे बनो, get a job, get skilled, use technology, let's place mobile, digital India, digital technology, the works we are talking of.
We are going to the moon.
Yeah, we are going to moon, we are going to Mars, we are going to a sun.
Yeah.
We are sending out missions after missions. I just read before we started the conversation that there are only two nations which are sending stuff in they're saying it is, one is NASA,
Yes,
and one is ISRO.
ISRO.
The only difference is that there are Indian scientists who are working for NASA, right? But there are no American scientists working for ISRO.
ISRO, yes.
You look at this thing. So where is the difference?
Yeah.
So if you think that Pakistan Army, and a lot of people tell me this, that Pakistan Army is very smart, वो terrorist भेज के अपना काम करा देती. Eventually those terrorists have got life. You must have seen my video, which is very very viral, right? कि चप्पे चप्पे पे हम फौज नहीं हो सकती है, but जो आए आप बता दीजिए उनको हम ऊपर भेज देंगे. So yes, they are sending the proxies, but they get knocked off. Some go back safe, all right, but most of them get knocked off. Where is the fun? Where is the fun?
Tell me something. Why did the Pakistani Army, put Imran Khan behind bars? I'll tell you why. Because as per reports, his wife herself was supposed to be an agent of the ISI, and she was planted there so she can take over the party. This is what the newspaper reports have said.
Yeah. So please look at Imran Khan has molded himself into different forms over a period of time. When he had to come to power, he used army to come. Suddenly, when he had to he realized that this country is totally a radical country now. Islam is the only flavor. Suddenly, he changed into a Islamist himself, wearing those things and talking of Islam all the time. And thereafter, he also realized it's an imperative for him to be an anti-Indian.
Yeah.
Also to remain, to survive.
To be relevant.
Survive, both go together in Pakistan. If you're not relevant, you are behind the bars.
Correct.
If you are, or you are staying somewhere else outside the country.
Correct.
You can't stay there in that same country. So either you are hung, right? What Benazir's Bhutto's father happened, what happened to Benazir.
And she was blown up.
Her brother, Murtaza also got knocked off. So there is a whole history behind. Ziaul Haq went with some, exploding mangoes in the air. So what happens is very important for them to be relevant there. And therefore for the relevance, he had to do all these dramas, right? He may not be the right person actually to lead the country, I look at it, but then he's popular, right? And he married Bushra Begum, right?
She was a plant.
She was a plant. But then, plant was that she was into the burqa all the time, trying to showcase that she's this thing. So while this gentleman was marrying all the model and everything, he had a great life of a glamour outside this thing. Nature doesn't change, Meena. Right? He may be having Bushra Begum, but I am very sure that his philandering ways, will not be any different. Right? Especially in that environment, which looks very, very religious. But actually, when you open this thing, it is so dirty that people on the media, they have come out. I'm sure you must have watched that conversation in which they are talking of their sisters. Everybody is for game, right? So I'll not get into it. The
Yeah.
fact is that Imran Khan, somewhere his Pathan blood
Yeah.
also get tested.
Okay.
Right? How long can you control me?
Yeah.
And he wanted to come out in his own power,
Yeah.
which Pakistan Army will not allow.
There's a saying about Pakistani armies, and especially in the Islamist countries, that the mentor never survives the protege. The protege of the mentor will always, because somehow they always give birth to Frankensteins who always sort of kill the mentors that they have. Do you think that this is also the condition in Pakistan
Yeah.
with regards to Ziaul Haq?
No, not only Ziaul Haq.
I mean, all of them.
Before that and even after that.
Even after that.
Right. So everybody is a prop there.
Okay.
Right. So when the prop comes into power, it starts getting a shape. And something very unique also is there. They're very devious.
Yeah.
Right. They call off their some. I don't want to get into the words. Al Taqiyya and stuff like that. And all.
Yeah.
Right. So it is when you do all that, you're not only doing to your enemy. When it's in a bloodstream, it becomes to your own people, right? It becomes to your own near dear ones. When you're told that you can pick up any woman anywhere and carry her home.
Male Ganimat. It's that the concept is Male Ganimat.
Yeah, so the Male Ganimat is there. So your own sister also becomes Male Ganimat, right? Because जब वो माल नहीं मिल रहा है, तो घर का भी माल आपका माल है.
This happened in Bangladesh.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that when you don't understand a religion and you start using it word by word, thereafter your views, your ideas, the way you practice it becomes the same. So when you're using Al Taqiyya, Asim Munir, his alias was Deceiver.
Deceiver?
Right. There's a photograph of his in a major's rank, and he writes below it very proudly, Deceiver.
Deceiver.
So that is how they come up, creep up, quiet, showing. I was in some place, UN mission, and there were, let's say, 4-5 these Pakistani officers to come, and they will come and tell me also. They will come and have their liquor, shikar, and everything. By the way, Asim Munir is also known as Chacha Chuski, right? So I am on the lighter side. Unfortunately, these are things which is commonly known there. So there is a facade for the rest of the people, but then there is something. These are all very, very human. I don't look as very normal. I don't drink, but I totally don't say bad कि somebody is drinking. These are very, very common human nature. So when you're trying to artificially control through religion, the facade will be something else for somebody else, and for yourself it will be different. So these guys to come and tell me कि sir उससे बात मत करना, थोड़ा संभल के रहना, उसके पेट में दाढ़ी है. Meaning that he's very, very clean shaven, but he's very religiously oriented, and he's an ISIS man.
Oh.
So amongst the
ISI man or ISIS man?
ISI. I'm talking about 30-40 years back, 30 years back,
Okay.
I don't want to refer to that location and all. Those guys will be touched by it. They must be all very old men like me, They're all my age, a little bit above and this thing. So that time the people were not very happy with the way the Pakistan Army was, right? And there is a time when Ziaul Haq's policy was just unrolling, right? So this deception of their own master is part of their training. So they deceive Chinese, they deceive the Americans, they deceive their own people, they deceive their women, they deceive their own bosses, they deceive their own people. It's part of their nature. The stabbing behind the back culture was not only applied to our own leaders, Shivaji Maharaj and all those things, he was told kaisa hota hai. It was applied very thing to their own people as well, right? So when a son is willing to kill his father to get a throne, there is something which is in their training and grooming which comes out to Pakistan.
So tell me something, did the leaks happen at Kirana Hills?
Yeah, it's a very difficult question you are asking, but what I feel is that may not be leaks would have happened that point of time, but leaks can't happen. Like, this is my view. I'm sure you must be wanting to hear leaks happen, but
no.
I'm talking of how nuclear systems work.
Okay.
Right. Nuclear system can only work when they are mated.
Okay.
There are 5 major components. Even a radical nation, irrational people will not like to keep any system mated because of inherent challenges which will happen by itself, right? So let's say this is a nuclear explosive, right? It requires a trigger, right? That trigger is kept somewhere else. That trigger itself requires a trigger in terms of detonation to detonate so that it reaches that temperature, and thereafter this entire fissile material can actually explode. Then only the radiation can happen. So the belief of everybody of ours that it radiation may have happened may not be true. But what may have happened is that Pakistan may have used this as a ploy to reach out to the Americans that this is happening. They have come and hit into the depth. Our stockpiles are hit. वहाँ पे क्या हुआ मुझे पता नहीं. It may also happen that wherever they had kept the storage, because most of the places
They had not,
know.
as far as I know, that one was not declared that they had storage in Kirana Hills.
So there are a lot of theories. Their theories is that Kirana Hills, where the American assets which are kept,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It was protected by the American systems,
Yes.
and possibly our systems knew it is there, but how it was kept, why was it kept? But the bottom line is that once you hit a nuclear system, even apart, there is always a fear that something may not have gone inside, right? So when a whole thing comes out and blast, there's a nearly 4 Richter scale earthquake which happens there.
They've been having these. I was also doing my research. So they've been having these Richter scale 4, 4.5. That's the average. Even in China.
I will love to believe all that, but the fact is that my pragmatic thinking says how much I'm not a very intelligent guy, but what I have studied is that I don't think it can happen like this. Radiation should happen. But yes, if it is hit somewhere critical, maybe they were trying to get together, maybe it was mated and it has hit some system and therefore there's a fallout. Yes. But so, what my indications are that possibly it has hit an entrance of a stockpile.
Yeah.
And that stockpile was not owned technically by the Pakistanis, was owned by somebody else, and there's a worry about it.
And that's the reason the American aircrafts were there, and also Egypt had flown an aircraft full of boron.
There are a number of theories on it. One is that Americans sent a aircraft. The aircraft was sold to the Egyptians or to they're saying so as per our data it is not right. So there's a whole information warfare thing happening. But the fact remains that why did America, which on the second day of the activity, at a very senior leadership position like Vance says, that we are not getting into it is between the two countries, could not just shift on the third or fourth day. There is something very, very important happened. There is something which is either the fakery was done again, deception was done by the Pakistanis, either way, about Kirana Hills, which compelled the Americans to come.
So if let's assume that the Americans have kept their nuclear stuff there, who are they targeting that nuclear stuff there? Is it China? Is it Russia?
It is China.
China.
Why should they look at Russia? You see, these are they're very, very smart people. They're deep state. There is strategic community. Thinks way ahead. We are no threat to them. Right. Pakistan is technically no threat as per them, but actually
somebody called Pakistan a garrison state.
It is
of the Americans.
I told you. I started my conversation by saying that this is a state which is not owned by its own people. They are for sale. We can buy, and there used to be like when I was a commandant in the war college, number of time people used to tell me, sir, why can't we go and divide Pakistan? So I used to tell them, I'll be rather happy to pay a portion of our military expenditure to Pakistan Army to keep that state together.
Right? Why is that?
Because they're sellable. They got fractured environment. You imagine those crankpots whom they have groomed over last 30 years into only madrasas education. And they spill over our IB and come to us looking for a job, looking for other issues.
So they come to our intelligence bureau asking for jobs?
No, our country, IB. I'm not intelligence bureau. They cross the international border.
Oh, IB as an international border.
Let's say you break the country and now they're looking for a job. They can't go to Afghanistan. They cannot go to China. Nobody will allow them there.
Yeah.
They cannot go to Arabian Sea.
Yeah.
The Saudis hate them.
Yeah.
The only place we got people who love them,
Yeah.
Aman Ki Asha gang,
Yeah.
are in India. Somebody will come out, like you got Rohingyas all over the place, you got Bangladeshis all over the country. And when you speak to, there are so many dumb people in our country who love them, right?
I don't think
Right.
so they're as dumb as they pretend to be, because I think a lot of them are paid for.
Yeah, so quite a few of them are paid, but you know, those paid people shape the mind of our basic Bharatiya Sanskriti oriented people who believe in on Vasudeva Kutumbakam concept, which the Prime Minister keeps on saying. He has got a different context, but they believe bichara. ठीक है आप यहाँ पे चले आइए lot of people say बिचारी बांग्लादेश से आई है they know they are Bangladeshi they knew they are इनके पास खाने के लिए नहीं है उसलिए यहाँ पर है they don't realize that the same people are now when they get together they will just cut your throat. So why them? Look at the Europeans. They don't know where to go. They are so into the society now. They are wanting. There are people wanting to say कि अब तो शरिया चलेगा यहाँ पर.
I'm
Right.
aware.
Look at the UK.
What's happened to the UK? Yeah, and look at the Pakistani grooming gangs.
When the tube bombing happened in UK, the people who work in the fire services, the police, they responded after a gap of period. You do your study, you realize they were all hand in gloves.
Yeah.
So after all, if the driver is from that this saying, they are very happy. गोरों को उड़ा दिया, ठीक है, क्रिश्चियंस को उड़ा दिया, ठीक है, तुम्हारे भी गए होंगे, कोई बात नहीं, हमारे वाले तो हूरों के पास जाएंगे, उनके वाले तो मर गए.
Because they are constantly at war.
Yeah.
They are not in. There is an illusion that a lot of us keep that we are at peacetime.
No. It's a revisionist society.
Yeah.
The religion itself is revisionist. They have declared that everybody has to be part of Ummah. If you want, you pay this thing to us. Otherwise, so there are people who are nice people. But unfortunately, nice people have to keep shut.
Because the nice people will also be the first ones to go.
You can't.
That is true. So tell us what kind of ammunition or missile was being used at us and what was our counter to it?
So, I'll not get into too much of a specifics into it, but suffice to say that let me bust a myth first.
Yeah.
Today's war is not a air war. Right.
Okay. No longer. So this is what I was saying. There is no hand-to-hand combat.
There should not be.
You're saying it should not be. There's no
And
direct tank. There are no tanks being used. Whatever.
No, because the day the tanks are used,
yeah,
I can assure you,
yeah,
the destruction is going to be immense.
Okay.
Right. And we need to be prepared for it mentally. Right. It is going to be initially a standoff thing. Eventually, when you're compelled, then only you should go for a physical maneuvers.
Okay.
Right. And therefore, the systems which have been generally used this time, either the aircrafts flying at standoff distances to deliver munitions like Scalp, right, which have got distances of about 350 odd kilometers, 350 or 400 plus. So you don't have to actually cross the IB or go too close to IB. So let's say if you have to hit Bahawalpur, which is 115 kilometers, 115 kilometers, you virtually need to fly about 100, 200 kilometers inside. That allows you to fly with comfort so that their missile systems, which are AD systems, which is air to ground to air, air systems, are not able to take out your aircrafts, right? So that is a smarter way to fly, and I think that is how they were able to strike at Bahawalpur and also at Muridke, and there are other systems which are there too, which are dumb glide bombs. When they are dropped, they cannot be stopped because they don't emanate, they don't radiate.
Okay.
Right. So if they don't radiate, you can't track them. And if they are not generating heat, then also to destroy them is not so easy. So anyway, we'll not get into the specific of it, but that is how the system is working. And they were using systems again to counter these things which are being breached. So you got a wall of air defense on either side, right? And to overcome this wall of air defense, in which you are trying to monitor what is the incoming missile or drone or aircraft which is coming, and thereafter you integrate your own systems, which is now very, very complex because speed of these flight paths is so fast, and the number of systems which are thrown, because initially there will be about 10, 20 aircrafts to come, right? So you can select the target, okay, so and so missile will hit this, so and so missile will hit so and so. But now with the drones coming in, and these things come in times of 400, in which there are short range drones which are about 15, 20 kilometers deep, right? Which is being launched by their infantry or RT to us, right? Then there are deeper ones for 100 kilometers, then there are deeper ones for 300 to 400 kilometers. Then they are far longer. So you can't fire an S-400, which is a very, very expensive piece of equipment, onto a drone which is costing even 50,000 rupees. Right? So this whole target selection is done by an AI system which is networked, which is integrated by the whole this system which is applied by our country.
Is this what is called the Integrated Air Command and Control System?
Yeah, correct.
And they were being hailed as the heroes behind Operation Sindoor.
Yeah. So this is all which was done by our own.
So tell me something. When at a single point they're, let's say, shelling, and they're shelling or sending these drones, including the kamikazes, for 100 miles, 200 miles, and then 300 miles. And so what is their, do they do it one by one? Do they do it suddenly? What is their pattern?
The
And
pattern
what is the pattern that we saw?
will be generally that you'll throw everything together.
You throw everything because it's difficult to catch?
Yeah, so everything will be used at the same time.
Okay.
Right. And very difficult to give the targeting and all.
Okay.
Right. Which one to go where.
Yeah.
Right. So when you fire an artillery,
yeah,
right, let's say those normal dumb bombs,
yeah,
for that there's no counter.
Yeah.
Right. It is like a stone,
yeah,
or explosive thing which has been now catapulted into the air,
yeah,
which will follow its own path and land.
yeah.
But the moment it has got a seeker system,
Seeker system
means that it's radiating. It is controlled by navigation system.
Okay.
So for navigation, it has to be controlled by satellites. It
Okay.
needs to radiate. That is a system which can catch. So most of the drones which are done are used, or any of these systems have got to be controlled. They have to have a navigation system. The navigation system needs to radiate. And anything which radiates, so there are radars which can capture the radiations.
So is this how we caught them?
Yeah, so this is how you catch. Now that entire thing, you got data bank which says that this is a drone which has got a capacity by the flight path or their unique ID systems, that this can only go for 15-20 kilometers. Oh, by the way, we can carry out a soft kill for that. Soft kill means that I can spoof. Spoof means that somebody who's launched it has got a system which is radiating and guiding. So I can break that, because as it is going away, that command thing is going distant. And it is coming closer to me, my power of sending signal is getting much more stronger.
Okay.
So I can take over the command,
Yeah,
and I can guide it somewhere else.
oh, can
So this is called spoofing. So
were we able to spoof some back to them? Is that
so
possible?
that can also be done. But then, these are all details, right? I don't want to get into kisne kya kiya, because these are all being, everything which we are talking today,
Yeah.
everything which they have done is getting mapped,
Okay.
right? So they will all be now carrying all experiments,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I will try and say. So second is the tradition. Then you decide, okay, I'll not spoof. I'll go to cut this cord. So then the cord has been cut. It becomes a dumb thing,
Oh.
right? And thereafter it falls somewhere else, right? Instead of hitting a target, it will fall 10 kilometers away, 5 kilometers away. The second is that then you fire. So we have got small systems which fire about 3 to 4 kilometers. Then you got systems which fire 6 kilometers. Then you got longer range systems which fire much more longer. So based on the type of a thing which is being thrown, you match the following, and thereafter you carry out shooting from your own end.
So, which are the satellites that have helped, and are these indigenous?
So actually, the basic thing is that I'll not get into which satellites, but our GPS system, which are unique, are the Navik system, which has been launched very recently,
systems,
right? What happened in Kargil? We had American systems, ammunition also, and their GPS systems, they used to introduce an error, right? Of course, you see, Pakistan and America have got a symbiotic relationship. You can't do much about it. And then our shells were falling a couple of 100 meters away. So you imagine you're going for an attack and you just do some correction or some error is introduced. The shell may land at your own people. Right. So while we were able to understand and reconcile all that, right, but the fact is that it's very important to have our own satellite system, navigation system.
So Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Absolutely. So otherwise also, number of our radar systems, number of our weapon systems which have come out, including BrahMos and all, they've been produced here. The systems are here. When you buy something from outside, right, if I give you my mobile, I can put an application inside, I can put a virus, I can put a chip. So whatever you talk is either coming to me. I can also introduce my own chatter into you. I can also take out, so anything which comes from outside, applications, softwares, hardware, chips, will always have some system of control.
Yeah, because I was speaking to General Bakshi and he said that we should ideally not have any American equipment because most of the F-16s, the F-35s have kill switches in them. That means that they can be shut off anytime.
Anytime, yeah. So
that's dangerous. What's the point in investing so many billions of dollars in systems that the control of which is with another country?
Yeah, correct. But then if you don't have the technology, you need to buy, right? So that is a problem. So we, again, I will not like to blame anybody who was before. Both people in uniform, the bureaucracy and the politicians, all three have been to be blamed. And of course our industry, right? Our industry also, our people also look at only profit. So there's a whole ecosystem which did not allow technology to come about in our country.
So
right?
BrahMos is indigenous and it was talked about.
BrahMos is technically in the joint venture with Russia.
Okay, so that's okay.
Right. But however, it is now made in India. So all the components, major components,
are now made in India.
Made in India.
And so, how would you define BrahMos? I mean, BrahMos played a great role. Can you tell us a bit about
how so it... beauty of BrahMos is that it can't be intercepted.
Oh.
Right, it's hypersonic, speed is fantastic. It's the radar system or the seeker system and the navigation system which it uses cannot be intercepted by anybody.
Okay.
Right. There is, I don't think so as of now there is any system with the West or the Chinese to intercept.
Okay.
Right? So everything which we launched has hit. Right. And the numbers I'm told is about 15 odd plus minus have been used very accurately, more so to hit the airfields and some critical sites. So they've delivered.
So I want to ask you questions about your experience in military intelligence. Tell us, how was it? I believe that you worked in the foreign division of the military intelligence. Yeah.
I did. So essentially, I was not involved in gathering of intelligence as a agent kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I was handling a desk which was sensitive desk. I will not like to elaborate, but it was handling with everything which a military foreign professional was deployed here, and our guys were deployed outside, and all the information which has to be shared and goes out, and the stuff like that. So it is
Can you tell me, without compromising the confidentiality, something or an anecdote that highlights a critical role of military intelligence in shaping India's decisions?
Oh yes, no. Intelligence is most important thing for any country, any business, any corporation. Even in life, information which is collated, combined, and then verified, analyzed, becomes an intelligence, right? So even in a normal person's life, you may not know, but by sheer instinct, you are using all these three things which I have told you, right? And that becomes intelligence.
Okay.
For a nation to survive, intelligence is the most important thing.
Okay.
So what is happening? And there comes the role of military intelligence. Military intelligence in the national intelligence architecture contributes very, very significantly, right? How so? All our DAs who are abroad, they get information, they get data, they get this thing, they watch. That intelligence may not be for striking this thing, but what is the perception of our country? right? That is also intelligence. To shape your perception is also your job,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It is also part of your this thing. So all this comes down together in terms of getting information. And uh, well, I will not like to share what all things are, but then what I can just say is that there are a large number of countries
Yeah.
who are our friends.
Huh.
They may not look overtly our friends,
Huh.
but they want to continue to engage with us
Uh-huh.
because of our very nature of being positive in the environment. And at times they come out with very, very critical information when they hear and they share. Right? I can just share this much.
I think we get quite I get the hint. And so talking of friends and enemies, how Turkey and Azerbaijan have come together. Should you also say India should start making an alliance with, let's say, Israel, Greece, Armenia, and other countries? Because,
You
let's
know,
take a look at Quad and the role of Quad. I was a bit disappointed with the role of Quad in this problem. There's a reason we are a part of certain alliances.
so no, we are not part of, we are neither alliance with Quad.
Quad, okay.
Yeah, it is, we are not gone through security architecture only.
Yeah.
Please understand one thing, the main lead in Quad is America, right?
Okay.
If anybody ever thinks
Yeah.
that America is going to be friend
Yeah.
of anybody in the Quad,
Yeah.
right, the best of the partners,
Yeah.
he's sadly mistaken. He or she is sadly mistaken. America has only got one interest, the interest of his own country, right? Its own deep state, which controls. It actually doesn't look after their own people also,
Yeah.
right? So they can put their people into harm's way so that their machine, their military industrial complex can keep on running.
Do you think that
So
some people are raising this rumor that this conflict was also amongst the people who have engaged in this conflict? One of the reasons is also because US wanted to sell its ammunitions. I mean, look at they've just given a contract to Pakistan. I was reading for 300 some.
yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that that's what I'm saying, that they have mastered the art, right, of destroying their own friends. So when they can let down British, along with him, they fought the war, and Britishers kept on telling them that we are great friends. So I'm sure you must be aware that they launched an operation in Egypt and at that Suez Canal for whatever reason. But when the choppers took off of the Britishers, the Americans at the same time said, "Okay, sorry, we're not coming."
Okay.
You know, so they can let down any country. We have India needs to find, continue to work on strategy. I'm not saying non-alliance.
Yeah.
I'm also not saying that whole system which you follow
Yeah.
earlier. It has to be strategic autonomy in which we need to bat ahead,
Huh.
right? We must also learn this art. It may not be right or wrong
Yeah.
from both China and America,
America.
right? That yes, while your cultural ethos of keeping friends always as friends must be smart, but you need to deal with the people the way they deal with you, right? And Americans are always going to deal in terms of business, right? They will always keep, like they will be engaging with you negatively, but they'll always ensure large number of friends are there, right? So they deal at multiple layers. Similar art when you are going to come and work at the higher table. You need to develop these capacities and capabilities that you need to smile all the time and say the right words. But then you continue to do what is right for your own country or for your own system or your own strategic orientation, right? So that thing is not yet matured in our country. Not even matured. I can just say very bluntly, it is nowhere as compared to so many other countries who are strategically aligned.
Okay. And
Right.
so which department needs to work on this one?
Yeah, I think
Which ministry?
it has to be a whole of government approach. It has to be your mind has to change. Our correct, people feel that like military officers are useless, right? They only know how to fight wars. People don't understand that our understanding of geopolitics is far more sharper
And deeper.
and deeper. Plus, most of the soldiers who come up, right? We are not into money.
Yeah.
We are more into our nation. Our children will stay here. Our people. But when you look at other systems,
Yeah. Yeah.
they have got other ideas. I'm not I don't want to say so much on the camera, it will not look
Yeah.
nice.
No,
But
that's
the
okay.
but the fact is that there has to be a mental tuning
Yeah.
in which there has to be a strategic community which has to come about, which has to be nurtured. We don't have that deep strategic community. You may have a think tank which is created only possibly for a purpose, right? But how does it apply to engage all across the world to change the mindsets?
What you're basically
Is
saying is that we have short-term answers to everything. We have a 5-year policy. We don't have a 100-year policy to nurture our own talent.
Yeah,
Did I get
correct,
that
absolutely.
correct?
Like the Americans have a system called Future Leaders Program.
Yeah.
They will select people from 10th, 11th, 12th class all over the world. They'll select them and they'll start investing. हमारे यहाँ पे शुरू हो जाएगा investing तो वो नौकरी हो जाएगी, right? So in Kashmir, every time we have gone to Kashmir, there are Kashmiris who have fought along with us. Every time things have become peaceful, we have led them into high and dry state,
Yeah.
right? So somewhere our strategic culture to keep long-term friends,
Yeah.
look at a long view, is absent, right? So while the Prime Minister may want Viksit Bharat in 2047, till the time there is a strong strategic community which is shaping the mind, something like Nation First. But these are all symbolic. It requires a huge effort. It is not job driven, it is passion driven.
Yeah. Correct.
So there are people who got passionate,
Yeah.
but unfortunately they aren't tied. There is nobody to listen to them.
Yeah.
Right. So the Pradhan Mantri ji can come and pass a direction of Atmanirbhar Bharat, but people have to be explained why, how, so that the mind is shaped. Tomorrow, let's say this government changes, this ethos of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah, it's going to go for a toss because there are lots of people who will get kickbacks and they'll say that why do we need, and I mean let's
No, there are
face
people who are waiting now also.
yeah,
There are
true.
enough people who say कि इसको मत आने दो, उसको मत करो, ऐसे मत करो.
And you'd be surprised to know that the opposition thinks that we don't even need an army, that we should reduce the army. And let's face it, that this has happened during Jawaharlal Nehru's
Yeah.
time,
So there are
right? We
people who
started.
will go to politics on Agniveer on one side,
Yeah.
but on the other side they will say you don't require an army. So there
Yeah.
is a contradiction.
Yeah.
So so that is where you require a strategic community which transcends political boundaries, and they look at the country bureaucratic, military, and I can assure you that people from the armed forces are far more smarter. They may not be nuanced, but their heart is always right in place.
Correct. I understand that one. Coming on, the contradiction, it's not a contradiction. The deep state actually pays non-state actors and lots of independent journalists, YouTubers, fact checkers in India to counter everything that the
You look at
BJP or the
this.
Pradhan
Yeah,
Mantri
so I will
says.
not like to right now become political side,
Okay.
but I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Like Hindenburg,
Yeah.
Soros.
Yeah.
Why is it that every time there's an election, critical election,
Yeah.
not all elections, critical elections,
Yeah.
something about Adani will surface.
Something. Yeah.
About Adani will
Yes.
surface.
Yes.
So okay, I have got nothing to do with Adani and all.
Yeah.
Right. Something will surface, and the beauty is that guy on this, on our elections, is making money. So there'll be short selling, our stocks will crash. This guy will go buy the stocks. He knows that after some time everything will come back.
Yeah.
So he's making a cut. He's also ensuring that our public starts feeling that these big industrialists, and I don't know why, that if you don't have big industrialists,
Yeah.
you will not have jobs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Socialism, if it had to work,
Yeah.
or communism had to work,
Yeah.
China would not be a capitalist society today what it is.
Yes.
Right? So it is very idealistic to think कि सब खेत में काम करेंगे और पेड़ उगेगा और पौधा निकलेगा और फल होगा और हम सब मिल बांट के खाएंगे.
And the irony of the situation is that the same youth of India will go around posting on YouTube and on statuses on Twitter and Facebook saying, "Yay, the CEO of so and so company is Indian. The CEO of this
No,
company
no.
is Indian."
I
And
get no kick out of it.
at the same time, they would be bringing down our own industrialists. How does that happen? That at one point you're excited for American industries and industrialists hiring our Indian people, but here in India India, you want to bring every industry
Nina,
down?
मेरा बस चलेगा if it is in my power, all these major institutes in which we got training happening.
Yeah.
ISRO,
Yeah.
all scientists there
Yeah.
are from government colleges.
Yeah.
Second rung,
Yeah.
third rung,
Yeah.
so called.
Yeah.
Where are your guys
Yeah.
who are doing so well?
Yeah.
They have all gone abroad.
And
As I said, they are
imagine,
working for NASA, they are
Yeah.
working for everybody. They are working in what is the difference between the West and us? In America, if I'm an alumni of Harvard, Stanford, I will make millions of dollars,
Yeah.
but I'll give some part to allow it to run.
Yeah.
Right? Today, the government of India is paying crores and crores of money to run the same institutions जहाँ से सारे बच्चे पैदा होकर के they have gone. And when you go to these colleges, I go to talk to them.
Yeah.
Most of them are looking at me that, yeah, why is he wasting? Because I'm talking of nation.
Yeah.
He said, what the hell? I have come here.
Yeah.
I have come here for subsidized training,
Yeah.
education.
Yeah.
Therefore, I will get my placement in foreign countries.
Yes.
And I'll get my PR and I'll settle down there.
Yes.
So it is all good that you must go.
Yeah.
But भैया देश का भी देखो. So if you think that on any of these people, if you think the FBI chief today, who happens to be of an Indian domicile, FBI का ही है ना वो अपना
Patel.
Patel,
हाँ.
he's going to put his country behind his new country, right?
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
at cost of India. I'm sorry. If he has to align with Pakistan tomorrow, he will align just like that.
Exactly.
Because he is absolutely proud of his own country. We Indians aren't. आपका देशभक्ति का मामला ये है कि मैं तिरंगे में मर के मैं तिरंगे में वापस आ जाऊँ. That's the only देशभक्ति. Right? Where is the best of the देशभक्ति? Where do we talk in our schools? Where do you talk in colleges? Where are we very proud of our flying our tiranga? Why doesn't everybody in our country carries tiranga on his shoulder, on his chip, or in his this thing? We don't have that movement. We don't have that movement. So while we may talk, थोड़ा बहुत बोल दिया, but we need to have that movement in our country. The culture in our country to be proud of your country has not been driven enough. It doesn't happen by itself.
Would you blame the schools? What would you
Why should I blame? I have to blame the bureaucracy, the political establishment for last 70 to 80 years. Where have you talked of it? Right? वो मेरा बाहर महान चार पर बोले से नहीं होता है, काम करना पड़ता है. ठीक है.
And you spoke of Kashmir, and you've spent a lot of time there. You mentioned that you worked with Kashmir. I mean, you've spent a lot of time there, including the Tiranga at the Lal Chowk and all that was, I believe, under you. So I want to ask you, from your counterinsurgency experience in Kashmir, what measures can be implemented to protect the vulnerable populations, and especially like the touristic populations one, and how do we stop the youth from being radicalized?
Look, the answer to that is simple.
Yeah.
Not very tough.
Yeah.
Don't look at short-term answers.
Okay.
We don't have a long-term strategy in Kashmir even today.
Okay.
Right? You have to start focusing on education, the right education. You just can't say that मेरा हक है, इसे सोशल मीडिया पे जो कंटेंट आ रहा है चलेगा. You need to protect your youth from the content which is flowing in the social media. What is happening in the lower range? Right? You have to talk of it. You have to discuss. You have to be open. You have to look into eyes. Why did I succeed? I succeeded because if you are a Kashmiri Muslim, a woman or a girl or a boy or an old man, I have talked to you in your face and told कि यार ये आप गलत कर रहे हो, आपके साथ गलत हो रहा है. They will also appreciate when you look at it. It can't be nuanced. We all the time in that nuance, what happens is we give a slant and people don't take the hint.
What is the nuance and the
Nuance
slant?
is that आप पॉलिटिकल पार्टी के हैं तो आप चलो कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ा एंटी इंडिया भारत बोल दो, नहीं तो आपको वोट नहीं मिलेगा.
Oh.
Right? So our people only tell them, oh you have to survive there, थोड़ा सा बोल दो. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. वहाँ की भी जनता बिल्कुल साफ सुनना चाहती है. And I can assure you there is a larger population which is with us. Right? Only thing is we don't allow them to be with us. Because when you keep on speaking to people who are anti, Hurriyat has been made by us. It didn't come about by this thing. Gilani was, looked after by us. Look at Dulat what he talks. But जब तक आप ये नहीं बताओगे सोसाइटी में कि you are with me or you are on the highway, वो चलेगा नहीं. Right? There are enough people. Start looking after those people who are with you. Right?
And when it comes to counterinsurgency, what changes have you seen in the time that you were doing counterinsurgency when you were commanding there versus now?
No, my command has not been over just
No,
about 3
when
months,
you were a
over 3 years old.
younger,
Yeah, from my
when you were,
younger, this thing, it was actually in the initial years, there were no orders.
yeah, mm,
Then the orders came.
yeah,
We were short of people, there were huge numbers.
yeah,
Then Rashtriya Rifle was raised.
mm,
And thereafter, from large scale cordon search, we have come down to intelligence based operation today.
mm,
A lot of information is now, that time not much information to come from people.
mm,
Today, a lot of people give information.
mm,
They are quite fed up with it,
mm,
right? Second is technology is being used in a much more professional manner.
mm,
So what has happened is that the cycle of violence,
mm,
which is foreign-led terrorist to Pakistan-led terrorist, came down to Indian Kashmiri terrorist,
mm,
right,
mm,
has also now reduced to a fair balance in which the Pakistani terrorists are providing leadership
mm,
and using Kashmiri terrorists as a fodder,
mm,
right? And they are very limited in number,
mm,
not very many.
mm,
The day Indian establishment,
mm,
our country establishment becomes absolutely clear,
mm,
overt and covert.
mm.
When you talk, ऐसा नहीं होता कि कमरे के अंदर नहीं नहीं यार तुम वहाँ रह रहे हो तो तुमको थोड़ा सा देश के खिलाफ बोलना पड़ेगा.
अच्छा,
जिस दिन आप ये बंद कर देंगे
हाँ.
उस दिन कश्मीरी आपके हो जाएंगे.
So, in this book, Soldiering with Passion, there is a very lovely statement that I believe that your brother has said, that there was a prophecy made about you, and somebody, a holy man, had come, some sadhu had come to your house at a particular time, and he came to you straight away and he said, "Ek din ye desh ka senapati banega." Can you tell us about this prophecy?
Yeah, so it happened very young age, and
Yeah.
frankly, we were playing. I didn't give a note heed to it, but my brother has got a capacity to remember smallest details.
Okay.
Even now, he remembers. Maybe for whatever reason, I don't remember.
Uh,
But yes, when I read the draft, I was not privy to the way he has gone about. The
Yeah.
author has gone about. He's spoken to so many people and compiled. When he sent me the first time,
yeah.
so that is the time when I read. I remembered that incident.
Yeah.
So it did happen, and unfortunately, my brother asked about himself, and he ignored him.
I
He
think
didn't say anything.
I think that's the reason they would remember it more,
Yeah,
because a no is remembered longer than a
longer than.
yes, right? It's
So
human psychology.
yeah, so I think that happened,
Mm.
and this was told to me very often
Yeah,
over a period of time
yeah,
by seers, by others. I don't show my hand. I
yeah,
don't try. I don't believe in getting to know future. But
yeah.
there are a number of people who told me that I'll become something.
Mm.
Senior, but I have also done so many wrong stuff,
Yeah,
which I've crossed my superiors number of time.
yeah.
I never thought that I'll come here,
Okay.
reach at this level where I reached.
Uh-huh.
So, yes, I guess maybe that prophecy had to come true. So, Senapati doesn't mean the chief of army
Yeah,
staff.
of
I
course,
guess
of course.
Sena Kapati can be always of
Yes,
100 people. So,
yes.
in my heart, I have been always a Senapati for one. But my wife is my boss.
I don't think so. There is any successful army man who says his wife is not his boss. And I want to end this with speaking of your wife. I believe both of you went to the Tanot Mata temple. It's written in this book. Tell me about the miracle at the Tanot Mata Mandir. Tell us what happened.
Actually, it's very. So I was very surprised that that family or some other officer has also, I think, written about it, and then the
Yes.
couple also written.
Mm.
One thing as a leadership style for us
Yeah.
was always there to. Uh, we never desired anything from our subordinates,
Huh.
right? And I also never gave anything to my superiors,
Hmm.
except for respect, love, affection, and time.
Hmm.
And that is why maybe today I've got a very large circle of my colleagues who I don't think they are my juniors,
Hmm.
but they are my extended family,
Hmm.
right? Now also, like I'm going to leave only because there's some
Somebody
young
waiting for you.
officer
Yeah.
who's coming with his wife. He's so busy, but he just wants to come and have this thing. I've got no day free,
Yeah.
right? While I cannot do anything for them even after retirement. So we were flying, and this girl calls up. We are in Jaisalmer, and this girl happens to call up and tell my wife that she's got cancer,
Oh.
right? And my wife was very disturbed because
Yeah.
I know this girl, very, very human,
Yeah.
efficient. She's very qualified. She's B.Tech, M.Tech, and very full of energy and life, you know. And they were with us when I was in Sharifabad as a GOC, one of a young officer in my staff. And we had not planned to go to Tanur. We were not actually aware of the so-called thing. And वो होता है ना, destiny होती है. In the morning, we decide कि वहाँ होके जाते हैं. So now, right now, we are not thinking about all this, right? And हमने कहा यहाँ आ गए हैं. So I was traveling with my team, with all officers. So we decided about an hour early. Wherever they had to go, we had to just take a detour for about half an hour. So we went there. Now in the morning when we reached there, हमने पूजा वूजा कर ली और पूजा के बाद में मत्था टेके हम जाने लगे. Now suddenly that Pandit ji, because I was a senior officer, so there was a people who were looking after us and all, very nice. And now when we turn back, there's another young Pandit ji who comes, and he stops my wife and says that क्या कहते हैं, he just calls and he gives something to her. ये ले जाइए, आपने मंदिर में लगाइएगा, आप ही यूज कीजिएगा. So some Sindhur and stuff. I don't remember exactly क्या क्या सामान था कुछ.
माता के श्रृंगार का सामान होगा.
हाँ, yeah. So then my wife said, but I want to give this to somebody. He said, who somebody? So then she said something. She said, नहीं भी आप अंदर आइए. Then he got us inside. And there was a small little prayer he did, and he got something for this girl, young lady. And she said, ये आप उसको दे दीजिएगा. So I think we both prayed for her without telling each other, right? Because somehow we are also very, very independent private people. We don't talk everything, I think, amongst ourselves. And now when we are going out, suddenly they said कि सर यहाँ पे वो होता है, यहाँ पे रुमाल बांधते हैं. So मैंने अब कभी रुमाल शुमाल नहीं बांधा है, कभी मैंने कोई मन्नत नहीं मांगता मैं. अब वो मैंने भी बांधा, my wife also tied. Right? These are supposed to be responsibilities of the ladies actually. And then when we are coming back, we didn't tell. But this girl calls up my wife at that very same point or something and says that yesterday night I saw her mata in her dreams.
How nice.
Right? And then it all just panned out and she became all right. And then, so there is a thing that you have to go back and untie the
when the mannat is done.
Mannat is done. So there's nothing else has to be done. And now we had to go back. So then my wife spoke to this thing, हम तो जा रहे हैं, तुम लोगों को चलना है तो चलो. ठीक है. So I was retired that time, much after my retirement. Did we have to do it? I don't think so. काम हो गया था. But I guess
she got cured. She got fixed.
Totally,
she's not totally cured of
totally
cured of cancer.
Very, I am after her to write a book, but this girl is not listening to me because her journey is fantabulous. How she's fought through, right?
And so,
and so she used to see Tanur Mata almost quite regularly during the whole process.
How beautiful,
right? And so मैं तो डरते गया था, ठीक है, कि भाई वो पूरा कर देना चाहिए. But then my wife and this girl have got a lot of faith in her. And we went, and of course we went through. So a lot of people feel that जरूरत नहीं थी मुझे करने की. But then if हम नहीं करेंगे एक दूसरे के लिए तो कौन करेगा?
Correct.
Just because she or he is a junior officer doesn't make a difference. I will do it. I do it even now for a soldier. Yeah. Right? When he's in trouble. Yeah. Most of my soldiers from my battalion or who served under me, they give me a call. I try. Yeah. I may not be able to do it. Yeah. But कोशिश करते हैं और कई चीजें मेरे बस की नहीं होती हैं. तो I also tell them कि बेटा मैं तो नहीं कर सकता. But then that faith is there. That साहब कुछ न कुछ कर देंगे. I guess this also comes through a regimental life. I am from 9 Sikh life. Yes. It's a wonderful battalion. I think they grew me to become what I am. So all this, what I have done, all of my superiors in my battalion, they have been with me during thick and thin. So somebody may have damaged me in my ACR report because I have not behaved well. But interpersonal relationship, the leadership quality which I have seen in a battalion is what I have tried to emulate. I may not be as good as them.
And so you got commissioned in 9 Sikh Light Infantry and you commanded 9 Sikh
Yeah,
Light
I was
Infantry.
very lucky. I also
That-
commanded, and I commanded in the glacier.
Oh, yes.
Siachen
Siachen.
Glacier. I commanded in Eastern Ladakh.
Yeah.
I saw my battalion moving at least 13 times
Wow.
in my command. It's a very, very long time. And
Tell me, what was the toughest challenge in Siachen before we finish?
yeah, toughest challenge was to convince my men. I'm a teetotaler. And these boys are, soldiers. I'll not say they drink a lot, but then, of course,
A peg here
younger
and
peg
there.
or two here and there is okay. To convince them drinking is going to be harmful to you on the glacier. And there's a science behind it.
Yes.
The science is about weathering.
Yeah.
Your toes and the tips get warm and then they shrink, right? And this is where it leads to frostbite and chilblains frostbite.
Yeah. So drinking causes frostbite, and they can lose the ends of their.
Yeah.
I've seen many people in the army, men in the army, losing tips of their toes,
Yeah.
and
So one was to shift them. The second is very, very tough. You have to follow SOPs very, very diligently.
yes.
So there are a number of stories. I can spend hours about it. You'll have a full session. You'll have to do it on Siachen.
We can do another session on like the toughest battle terrains and how we manage that in India.
So the second was to make them physically fit and recognize the value of SOPs. So both things were achieved by personal example, I guess, as a leadership example. All training. I was 40 years old and my average men age was 26, 27. 10 kilometers run, Pittu runs, walks, climbing flat, vertical walls, ice walls. I did everything with them. And there were some places which I could run them, climb. So once they realized the seriousness of it, that whole unit worked with cohesion and in unison.
So you led by example.
So yeah, not only me, all officers led by example.
And did you ever use anything from our Shastra, any inspiration, anything from the Shastra that you could use to inspire them?
So, well, I would love to quote a couple of them.
Yeah.
I am not too deeply religious that point of time. It is through the journey of my Siachen Glacier that I became very, very spiritual and religious. It's a candid admission.
I'm aware that at one point the most non-religious officer, non-dharmic officer starts accepting dharma and the miracles of Devis and Devtas.
Yeah, so there's an incident which, I'm getting late.
I know.
I'll add. There's a soldier of mine who had a heart attack on Bana.
Okay.
I could not evacuate him. He wanted to be evacuated, this company commander at Sonam, which is 500 meters below. He wanted to go. Situation was heavy snow. I would have evacuated him. I had no way to take him out by choppers. He couldn't have walked because it was about 10 days walk, right, through snow to roll down, and you can't have a guy with a heart attack going down. On the second day, this chap gives me a call and says कि अगर मुझे मरने के लिए बोलना है, आप evacuate नहीं करो, मुझे बताओ, मैं यहीं कूद जाता हूँ. Equation was this, that every man could speak to me of the heart. I explained to him the construct, the challenges. I said, you tell me that for you, should I put 12 men to risk? Because they will surely die. And you will be also the 13th person who will die. Because it's a steep climb and avalanche was sure shot. And I had done multiple tenures in mountains, in glacier kind of environment, and I know how avalanches work. But I didn't sleep for those 12 days. In the night, I used to have visions.
Yeah.
I used to come out of my barrack, and there's a small artificial glaciated lake kind of a thing where I was. And on the other side was a small little Kali Mandir. इतना छोटा था, किसी ने रखा होगा.
Kali Mandir?
Kali था, empty.
Kali Mandir, okay.
Yeah, because our boys were Sikhs.
Yeah.
So we had a different system, and when other units come, they have got small
Devi
temples,
Devta.
Devi Devta, and also Kali tha. And I used to only look at it and think of, I did not know why, but I always thought of Durga. ठीक है. And I used to look at her कि भगवान दुर्गा मैया मेरी इज्जत बचा लेना. ठीक है. क्योंकि I had promised my men that we will break the record. We will come back all safe and sound. Right. इसकी जिंदगी बचा लेना. And he survived. Right. After 12 days, we were able to take him out. Everything happened all right. And that is the time I converted to be a religious man. Okay, I'm
What
not
dharmic? You
to
no. I think what the word you're using is a firm believer in the powers of the
yes, yes,
devtas.
because that was I have been into a lot of operations till that time, physical operations, in which I was able to influence because I was able to move as as a company commander. You can influence when you're present there. Siachen Glacier, a commanding officer can do nothing. He
I
can
am a
only sit at one place
yes.
and pray to the gods कि हे भगवान मेरे जवान को. When for a CO, any officer who's commanded a battalion will resonate with my thought that for you, your next rank,
Yeah.
your nothing matters. Your soldier matters, that you take him to war, you take him to an operation area, you take him to Siachen Glacier, you want him to get back safe and sound. So when I join and take over a battalion, and I hand over after 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years, every CO of Indian Army, especially Indian Army, I'm not talking about Indian Army,
Yes.
somewhere this regimentation system tells you that you are accountable to his life.
Correct.
You need to fulfill the national mission,
Yeah.
Army's mission.
Yes.
But इसमें से कोई मरा
Yes.
तो आपकी जिंदगी के अंदर आप गलती हो जाएगी.
हाँ.
And we work for that.
Yeah.
That is why our army is so different from others.
Yes, it is one of the most moral armies, and this is why we have the least amount of psychological disorders in our army compared to all other armies. Because a lot of other armies technically are immoral armies. They go out, fight battles that they should not be fighting. This is a research I read, so this is what I'm saying. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving us your time and giving us all your insights on so many of our questions. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Jayan.
Jai Hind, Jai Shri Ram.